How's it going, friends? My name is David, and I am your coach of the FC Popplio, and we are here for our draft analysis for Season 4 of the NPL Minors. As you can see, I am totally not late, and to celebrate me totally not being late uploading this, I have my face, so yeah. Anyway, NPL Minors. Last season, if you recall, we got to the playoffs. It was a pretty close race to the playoffs. We ended up guaranteeing our spot by beating Aster 4-0. We got through Adam, and then we got to play against Rob Jr., who we played before, and we lost due to an unfortunate miss with a clanging scales or a Draco meteor that should have killed a slow king or a slow bro. And then later on in the match, Terrakion then flinched the Mimikyu, which also would have let me win, but that's besides the point. We lost, and we got dropped into the third place match against our friend the Verd, who, if you saw his draft analysis, he put very aptly, I missed some sleep powders. So here we are in another season of the Minors, and this time it's a little different. Instead of 7 weeks and then a playoff race, there's 10 weeks, and the best record of each conference automatically gets promoted. And then to decide the third player who gets promoted, the leftover player, the top 4 I think, or top 8 of the leftover players, then do a promotion tournament. So that's really cool. And then they play the third place guy from majors. So that's sort of that spiel. Other things to note are we got our performance in minors with Mega King ended up getting it banned by the minors, even though the majors voted to keep it. I guess they didn't watch my videos, or they didn't see what the minors saw or something. But aside from that, we switched to a points-based system as opposed to a free draft. So I will be running off the tally of like my points and how much my mons are worth. If you hear clicking, that's me like moving tabs and things like that. Very exciting, I know. But we had first pick at where we wanted to put ourselves in the draft order. It was a very confusing system, but because I got 4th, and because a lot of the people who passed felt like I should have passed, they sort of rewarded the 4th place guy by letting him pick first at where he wanted to be in the draft order. I didn't really want anything. Nothing was super broken. There was no Kang. There was nothing like really fun that wasn't broken, like Mega Mawile, or like I don't even know. Like we voted on like Lele and Battlebond Gren. None of that got through. Minors wanted to ban it all thanks to Adam, and otherwise known as the Bee's Knees. He liked banning everything. So we got to where we wanted to pick, and I was like, well, there's nothing broken, and I could pretty much build from anywhere, so I'm just going to pick last. This way I don't get messed up on any, like, I pick them on and then I have to wait 30 picks. I'm just going to wait 15 picks, pick my 2 mons, and then build around my core. Perfect. Awesome. So, going into the draft, I wanted Megalop, I wanted Tapu Fini. Those were pretty much the 2 Pokemon that I really wanted. I wanted one of them, or both of them, ideally. As you could see, I didn't get either of them, but I did have backups. I have many, many backups. And one backup I had was this concept of Hoopa U plus Mega Glade. Because much like Mega King, Hoopa U was a mon that everybody was like, this mon's garbage. It's not very good in draft format. It's a lot better on ladder. A lot of people think it's scary, but it's actually not, and so. And I'm like, I don't know. 170 special attack is kind of a lot. It's a really good mix attacks. It has a lot of interesting options. I think it's a lot better than people are giving it credit for. And so to sort of prove everybody wrong, I decided to once again draft a Pokemon that looks broken on paper, but everybody says it isn't. Unlike Mega King, however, I don't think this is broken. I think this is perfectly fine in the format. I think it's a little better than people give it credit for, but I think it's kind of fine. And if for some reason you're not watching and you're instead just listening, it is a Hoopa Unbound. I first picked it at pick 16. It was worth 16 points, so from my 120 total, I have 104 now. Things to note are Z-Mons. We get one Z-Mon. Minors has the option of getting one Z-Mon above 10 points, or if you can pick up to 2 Pokemon under 10 points to be your 2 Z-Mons. I unfortunately didn't pick any sub 10 Mons that are worthwhile to have Z moves. I have a couple. I have one that I would love to put Z moves on, but I didn't really have a second, and I felt like Hoopa was just better than my low tier Mon plus something else. Other things I wanted were, I guess I can go into, other things I wanted included Durant, Venomoth, Excelgor. I really wanted Bugs because I like Bugs in the format. I think they're very strong in the format. Aside from that, I wanted Seaking on this draft, but this is all like long-term, like last round kind of stuff, yeah. So I guess we could jump right into it. So Hoopa U, like I said, it's very threatening, very spooky, and very interesting to build around. So to pair with it, I wanted a really good rocker and a really good, and not just a good rocker, but a good like offensive rocker. I wanted Hoopa to be built with like a lot of Volturn and a lot of like bulky offense at worst, maybe balance. So I wanted a Mon that could come to like any sort of playstyle and was reliable enough to be brought many weeks and this and that and so on and so forth and blah blah blah. It's a Garchomp. Now Garchomp's really cool because of Rough Skin, because of Stealth Rocks, because of its mixed offenses, because of its 102 speed. It cost me 15 points, and that was really good for what I needed it to do. Garchomp's cool. It's a ground type. It's a dragon type. I don't usually prioritize my dragons. I tend to prioritize my grounds, so that's kind of nice. Nothing much to say. It's a Garchomp. It pairs really well with Hoopa offensively, and it's just a good rocker for my team. So 30 picks later, it's back to us. A lot of stuff's taken. And I decided, well, Zygarde is spooky. Both of them. I don't have a lot for Zygarde. This is a Mon that I really wanted, and it's a Mon that I never really get to pick, and it was there, and I was like, well, this isn't coming back to me in 5th, and I know for a fact everybody's going to pick their grass types in round 4 and round 5. That's usually when they go, so I'm just going to take my grass type in the rounds 3-4, and my grass type is a Shaman, and it's super cute, and it's adorable, and love it. Look at it, it has a flower. Seed Flare is very good. It's very good offensively, it's very good defensively. A lot of people like to use it defensively. I would only really use it defensively against Zygardes, I think. Maybe other things that I would need it for, but it hits super hard with Seed Flare. It's a monster in RU right now. Healing Wish is also very good for what I wanted. It's really good for Garchomp, it's really good for Hoopa, it's really good for my Megas that I have planned. I have a bunch of Megas planned. Ideally, I want Mega Gallade, but I have other things like in mind in case Gallade somehow gets taken. I didn't even ask other people what Megas they wanted. I don't ask other people what they want because I could sort of just build around Snipes. I usually plan for backups and I usually like prioritize the main things I want early enough, so Snipes never really bother me. So anyway, with this, I had my Hoopa, I had Garchomp, had Shaman. I wanted to start building my Volturn. And on top of that, I wanted good hazard control. Because last season, I had Excadrill for my hazard control, and I didn't want to bring it as hazard control. I don't really want to bring this one as hazard control, but worst comes to worst, it happens. But it's a Mon that I really liked using the few times that I've picked it up. And it is Crobat. 130 speed is very good. Its speed creeps a lot of stuff, and it has the benefit of not always needing to run max speed, which is nice. It's a good defogger, it's a good taunter, whirlwind, haze, all that fun stuff that Crobat's able to do. It's also a bird, so Brave Bird hurts. And sort of, I really debated pairing my U-turn core, like this round with Shaman, and getting Crobat plus my next pick. But I was like, no, my next pick will stay. It'll be fine. And so 30 picks go, 30 pick all the way back. We come back, and wouldn't you know, my next pick stays. It is a Rotom. Rotom Wash is something that I think pairs very well with Garchomp. I think it pairs extremely well with Crobat, and I also think it starts pairing very well with Shaman. So Crobat plus Rotom is a very powerful Volturn core in my opinion. They sort of help each other deal with things, like Crobat can't break grounds, Rotom can't break grasses, and they sort of trade off their utility that way. They're both very useful utility mons in general, with a ton of different statuses, a ton of different like Trick, Taunt, Hex, Wisp, all that fun stuff. But you know, it's just a good pivot core, and they're two mons that I could bring most weeks. If you see me glance over to the right, that is me looking at my points. So I didn't go over my points. Shaman, Crobat, and Rotom were all 12 points. So half of my budget between my first 5 picks are just completely gone. I'm down to 50 points. Now, for me, that's not a problem. 50 points for 6 mons, that is easily like 10 points per mon, and then a low tier hero later, which is fine. That's what I wanted. I wanted to get a full 11, 100%. I think we had enough points that it was basically a free draft. So continuing on with Rotom, I got to pair something with it, and I was like, well, what do I want to pair with Hoopa, Garchomp, Crobat, Rotom, Shaman, and all this other stuff? I figured I might as well finish my Fairy Dragon Steel, as well as getting a lot of good like priority, get more utility, get spikes, and of course, I'm talking about none other than Klefki. Klefki is really good in what it does, and it is just more utility. I just wanted a bunch of utility for Garchomp, for Shaman, for Hoopa, for whatever I wanted to be my sort of win condition that week. I wanted enough utility, and I think Crobat, Rotom, Klefki is just a really solid, a really good core of utility that I can just bring whenever I need to. Klefki is a mon that doesn't have to come every week. It probably can't come every week, but it's still useful enough to show up if it needs to as a sort of type. It's like a steel type, it's a fairy type, so if I need to bring them and fit them on a team, then I just stuff in a Klefki. It also gives me spikes, so it's always useful, either through its typing or through its moveset, and I think that's really useful. So 30 picks later, I said useful a lot there. We come back to me, and I'm like, well, here's where I start budgeting. Here's where I'm sort of panicking, because like things are getting taken that I can't really afford them getting taken, and I end up talking to the Verd, I believe it was. I had a bunch of plans going in. I had like I had so many like different options for how I wanted to close out these last 5 picks. I knew what mega I was getting, so it was basically 4 picks. I was really trying to figure out, and it was mainly these next 2 that I had a lot of trouble with. And I was looking through, and me and the Verd were discussing it, and he mentioned Kabutops, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. So we'll get to Kabutops in a second. I have a Kabutops this round. But also this round, I needed a fire type, and I wanted a fire type that paired well with Shaman, that paired well with Rotom. I was also looking for spin blocking. Spin blocking was very important to me because I have a Klefki and I want a spike stack, and I want to make sure that they stay on the board. I was also looking for a secondary electric immunity, maybe an electric type, or to help me sort of like not get Volturned on and whatever. But enough talking. I picked up Alolan Marowak, and it's for all those reasons I said above, in addition to being a secondary stealth rocker, which was very useful so then Garchomp doesn't have to do it every week. I think that's very important, that Garchomp is not my rocker every week. It's also very bulky. It's like surprisingly bulky, especially with Lightning Rod. It hits super hard if it's offensive. It has a flame charge set, and most importantly, it pairs really nicely with Hoopa, because Hoopa can run Trick Room. And this thing is a monster in Trick Room. I've used it before, I've used it in a league with some Trick Room options, and it just does really well. And I just like how it pairs with Rotom and Shaman as a Fire Water Grass, because they're all very bulky Pokemon that are either really hard hitting with like spec sets or like thick club sets, or they're super bulky and defensive and offer utility. And I think that sort of versatility in my core is really good, especially when all 3 mons in the core are trying to do similar things, so they really just bounce off each other and help each other out. So, like I said, we ended up deciding on grabbing Kabutops, and this was sort of the only help I got in this draft. The rest I sort of figured out on my own for the most part. I do have some friends who I talk to, but yeah, Kabutops is really cool. Merc loves it. I know he does. I know he absolutely adores this thing, and I really do too. It just gets so many interesting sets. It has a really good move pool. It has good options with like weak armor and swift swim. It gets rocks. It can spin, which means I don't have to defog my own hazards away. It could set manual rain, I believe, and if not, Klefki sets rain for me. And so yeah, Kabutops is a really cool mon. It's rock stab, which is very good. A rock is very useful for like bird checking and sort of other things of that ilk. Yeah, Kabutops, it's a cool dude. It has priority. That's another big thing. I didn't have priority aside from like really weak unstab stuff like quick attack Shaman and Crobat, Sucker Punch Rotom, Klefki priority kind of, and so Kabutops really helped with that. So there's that. So up next I actually picked up my Mega, but since we already know, since I want to save that pick for last, I will, and we'll talk about what I got with my Mega. My next 2 mons are sort of what I paired, because I last picked my Mega, if you didn't know. I don't know what I was talking about before. I did last pick my Mega. I'm an idiot. So 30 picks passed by, and we're back, and we're like, well, it's time to pick something more interesting. I have pretty much everything I wanted. I did want a grounded poison. I think that was very important. I also wanted a win con. I didn't really feel like I had one. I had like good Scarfers. I had Hoopa, who was always a win con if it wants to be. But I wanted something that just set up and said, hi, I'm in your face, and hello. So I got none other than Venomoth. Like I said at the beginning, it was a mon I was really looking forward to picking up, and I ended up grabbing it, so that's awesome. Venomoth is amazing. If you don't know, he gets some good abilities like Wonder Skin and Tinted Lens, and I believe Shield Dust. So like all 3 are pretty solid. It gets Baton Pass along with Iron Defense. It can't Baton Pass a Quiver Dance, unfortunately. It can also Agility Pass, which is also very good. Iron Defense and Agility Pass are both very nice for things like Hoopa, Garchomp, Marowak, just everything pretty much. Tinted Lens is just disgusting. Yeah, Tinted Lens Sludge Bomb, Tinted Lens Bug Buzz, just there's not a lot of things that really resist that dual stab, and so if they don't have anything that does that, then Venomoth has a field day. It also gets some cool things like U-turn and other nonsense like Energy Ball, but all in all, Venomoth is a very scary Pokemon, and it's also grounded poison, who also gets T-Spikes and also can defog, so it's a 3rd hazard control if I really need it to be. It also sets T-Spikes, so if I want to go a very fat team, like with Shaman, Crobat, Rotom, Klefki, or Whack, and like just kind of semi-stall it, I totally can with T-Spikes. And yeah, that's Venomoth for you. It's just really solid, and I think it's criminally underrated. It's only 7 points. To put that in perspective, things like Marowak were 11, Klefki was 11, Kabutops was 6, but that's mostly because of the weather tax that the NPL has, where it's 1.4 times if you draft a weather setting ability. So Kabutops had to be a little cheaper, so then it didn't get astronomical when you drafted weather with it. But yeah, Venomoth, really cool mon, 7 points, so I'm hoping to show off a lot of the cool stuff that it can do. So next up, I knew I was getting a Mega, and my Mega was pretty much guaranteed. So I basically had 3 points left. I'm trying to think of how many points I had left. I had 4 points left. 4 points left. And I was looking through what was available. I was like, alright, so what am I missing? My Mega is potentially a Mega Glade. I have a Marowak. So I'm really weak to Ghost. I don't really have a Ghost Resist. My Dark type is also part Psychic. So a Ghost Resist would be very useful, or a Ghost Immunity. Other things to consider are a Cleric would be really nice since my pivots might get statused. Just more utility would also be good. I wasn't really looking for any like big powerhouse in the 4-point section. And then I came across this mon, and it's one of my favorites. I love the Mega. I love the Mega to death. In format, out of format, whatever. But I ended up picking up Audino, and Audino is really cute, and it's really wonderful in what it can do. The key thing to note is it's a Regenerator pass, so it can Wish, and it has Regenerator, so it just heals itself back up. Other things are Trick Room. It gets Trick Room. It gets Healing Wish, so it's more Healing Wish. It gets Encore, gets Knockoff. It's all these very useful utility moves that can help the rest of my team do things. And it's kind of passive, kind of not. With Encore and Healing Wish, it really removes a lot of the passivity of the mon, and I think that's really great. And as a secondary Trick Room setter for both Marowak and Hoopa, I think it's a really good pickup for 3 points. So here we are with my last pick. It is of course Mega Glade. And Mega Glade is a mon I've always been curious with trying out, and I think it pairs up beautifully with Hoopa in terms of they both sort of pressure the same mons or opposing mons, and they just sort of break for each other, and I think it's really great. Glade is also really like surprisingly fat. It's a good fighting type in general, and yeah, I don't know. Psychic spam is very strong because not a lot of people even draft dark types, let alone like multiple psychic resists. But yeah, you're looking at the team. I chose Hoopa as my Zmon because a lot of people were saying that, like I said, people were saying Hoopa was bad. I want to get the full Hoopa experience, and I think Hoopa has the best options for sort of utility Z moves. I was really debating going Venomoth, but I couldn't fit Durant or like another good low price Zmon on my team. So I didn't really want like Z Kabutops or Z Audino. And so here we are with just a Z Hoopa as opposed to Venomoth plus something else, because Z Venomoth is gross if you haven't seen calcs. But anyway, that is my team. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and all that stuff. Tell me what you think about the team. If you want to give me nicknames, that would be really awesome. I don't really have a lot of nicknames for my mons just yet. And if you have any cool suggestions, please let me know. Anyway, I've been David, and I will see you guys for week 1. Yeah, we are up against George, aka Septel MC. So be sure to look out for that game. That'll be sick. Alright, peace.